Good morning and welcome to the July 2022 AlabamaWorks webinar. This is a series of webinars focusing on education and training for Alabama's workforce. Past episodes can be viewed at our website, AlabamaWorks.com. Now your host, Nick Moore, Director of the Governor's Office of Workforce Education and Training.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks so much, Chris. It's a pleasure to join you today, and thank you for tuning in for the July Alabama Workforce Council monthly webinar. And I am standing in again today for Chairman McCartney, and he will be back with us next month. But we do have an exciting lineup for you today. And I'm going to introduce first our first two guests, and we may have a couple more joining behind them. But first, we're going to hear from Mr. Wilson Finch, and he is going to introduce his team, and he's also going to be joined by Miss Janice, who's going to share with us the work they have done on a credit for prior learning crosswalk, and that's been in partnership with the state of Alabama and Athens State University as part of some work we've done through the National Governors Association's Workforce Innovation Network. So we're excited to provide the results of that pilot, and we think that's going to also open up a greater body of work for us moving forward. And we're also going to hear from Mr. Brent Skipper, who is going to talk to us about Jobio, which is an interesting platform that he has developed down in the Wiregrass. So, but before we hear from Mr. Skipper, we'll hear first from Team CALE, the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning. So, Mr. Finch, if you would, please take us away.
Thank you, Nick, for the introduction. And we're very happy to be here and share a little bit about the project that we've been working on with the Governor's Office and with Athens State University around crosswalks, as Nick mentioned. My name is Wilson Finch. I'm the Vice President of Initiatives at CALE, which is the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning. And I have my colleague here, Janice Anderson, who also worked on this particular project and will be sharing a little bit about the results of this particular work. A little bit of background very quickly about CALE. For those of you who are not familiar, we are the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, as I mentioned, which is a national nonprofit associated with helping adult learners find sort of the credentials and work and the connection between the two that is most meaningful and helpful to them, empowering them to find that in their lives and in the lives that they lead. And in particular, we do have historically over the 40 to 50 years that we've been around, been doing a lot of work around credit for prior learning, which is the mechanism by which the knowledge and skills that an individual has is evaluated for college level learning, so that someone who, for example, has a lot of work experience, military experience, et cetera, is able to attain college level credit and then have to repeat coursework around those types of topics. As you can probably imagine, that saves a lot of time and money for the individuals involved or anyone who's supporting them in that type of work, and accelerates their pathways into education, especially those with significant experience that is frequently found amongst adults populations as a whole. And so crosswalking is one type of credit for prior learning. It's one mechanism for really evaluating that. And we have found it to be particularly useful in cases where learning can be obtained from industry credentials and other sort of industry recognized trainings, employer trainings, et cetera. And to talk a little bit about sort of what a crosswalk is before I talk about the pilot project that we've been working on, really it can come from a variety of sources. Most frequently when we talk about crosswalks, it's apprenticeships, certifications, trainings that are provided by industry organizations or also by the employers directly. And it's aligned and evaluated with college level courses so that credit can be earned automatically. I think that's one of the key parts of when you are thinking about credit for prior learning, is that the sources of the knowledge, because they're somewhat formalized in those types of trainings, can be, as we would say, pre-assessed or pre-evaluated for credit. So let's say, for example, if someone had a Cisco certification or a Microsoft certification in IT, the institution involved in that project would be able to say, if you come to us with that certification completed, we will give you credit in these IT courses automatically. All the student would have to do is just simply submit the documentation that indicates the certification has been completed, and then they would be immediately awarded credit. And these can be from, again, from a variety of sources: employers, workforce, industry organizations, et cetera. some of which can be supported by WIOA funding, which can be very helpful in those cases. Obviously, if workforce boards are supporting that type of training, in many cases, they already are supporting those types of trainings, which could be equated to college level credit, which can obviously be of tremendous use, saving resources for not only the student, but also if a student is supported by any sort of employer or other sort of funding source, rather than paying full tuition for those courses, the student can save a lot of time and money by accelerating their degree completion. When we talk about crosswalks and sort of why they're important, it's sort of different systems get different benefits out of it, but I think sort of we see it as part of the larger ecosystem of workforce and education working together. For workforce boards, it can add a lot of value to things that are already on the eligible training provider list. So while workforce boards may already be supporting a lot of these certifications, licensures, trainings, et cetera, this will simply say, in addition to simply helping someone find a job immediately by completing those trainings, if that person would like to continue on to a full credential, that training can be used to build a part of that degree program for that student. It also creates clear pathways for those students as well. So if they are completing certifications, trainings, et cetera, provided by a workforce board that collectively maybe feed into a similar topic, a similar discipline, then they can help to advise their clients who are going through the workforce system that together these might provide another pathway to fuller employment long-term. For employers themselves, many of them are providing tuition assistance programs already. They're already paying full tuition for their employees to go back to school and to finish degrees. And this, frankly, reduces the cost substantially. Very frequently, there is either no cost or it's a very minimal fee, sometimes as low as $10 or $15 for people to be able to obtain this credit. So rather than paying full tuition out of these tuition assistance programs, employers can simply pay an assessment fee or none at all for individuals to go through it. Also, if the employer is already providing training on their own, many times there are very fruitful partnerships that are developed between between employers and the local institutions to evaluate the local training provided by the employer and to equate to college credit, providing pathways to hire from within, to promote from within, by stacking sort of the trainings that exist within employer training and aligning that to a college curriculum. And then obviously that provides a great pathway and a great partnership between the employer and the local institution to sort of skill up from there. Higher education institutions see a lot of benefit from boost enrollment and retention in particular, and also reduce cost of attendance and speeding adults through their degree programs, which is great. And then also just amongst all of these different systems, we see a lot of opportunities for cooperation, a real tangible sort of realistic project that they can work on together rather than simply talking about these types of partnerships, really thinking about, okay, can we evaluate the training the local employer is providing? Can the local institution provide a clear pathway for these adults, learners who are coming from these employers or workforce boards to go into the higher education system, so these people have more stable career options and more have better economic outcomes as well. So really some great opportunity and increased understanding across those as a whole. Now I'm going to turn it over to Janice, who's going to talk a little bit about the project with Athens and sort of the results that we came to from that.
Thank you, Wilson. Yes, so around January, February of this year, we provided some service for them to service for the whole state of Alabama to connect industry credentials to our Athens State University. Athens State University said that they would want to be part of this program, so we started with them. First things, we follow a standardized process. So this isn't just a willy-nilly type of deal that we do. We do a standardized process where we actually determine which courses at the university or the college that really look at alignment to industry trainings, the certifications, and included the ETPL offerings. So what we found, a lot of the eligible training provider list was that there wasn't a lot of courses or industry certs on there that would align to Athens State University. So we went to the next route where we took industry certifications such as OSHA and the real estate business and some others, and we'll talk a little bit about that. we create individual crosswalks that align that training to those learning outcomes. And we did it for selected trainings and certifications. And all of these can be part of the ETPL offerings as you move forward. Next slide. So we had a review standards, so determine acceptable crosswalks, and we looked for kind of 4 different areas that we wanted to really make sure that we covered for Alabama. What were the accreditation standards? We want to always make sure that whatever the work that we're doing for crosswalks and for giving college level credits aligns with your accrediting standards. So again, we're taking the SOX accrediting the southern side of the accrediting bodies, and we're looking at their accreditation standards, making sure that there's alignment. If there is an alignment, we recommend where there could be alignment or accreditation language that would meet that. Then we take a look at the workforce needs. We do some in-depth review of which workforces are most relevant around the college that we were working with, Athens State University. But for the state of Alabama, we could go into all sorts of different things from manufacturing to IT to business. You have a lot of different industries, but we look at those workforce needs because we don't want to create crosswalks that will never be used. So we really start with the top of the list and go down. And then we look at the college university structure. Some colleges and universities do not have currently a structure for credit for prior learning or prior learning assessment. They don't use it currently. They may not have anybody who knows about it or can help students work through it. So we really look at the structure for each of the colleges and make sure that there is a support structure from the registrar's office to the admissions office to the faculty teams that are going to approve these things. Making sure that the college structure is there so that students coming in from one college or another college or a workforce that hear about PLA aren't being surprised when they find out that a college doesn't have the offerings that they need. And then we really did look at the Alabama's Building Human Capital Strategic Plan. And that was really our focus on the pilot to say, where is the need and how can we better align some of the college credit crosswalks with the Alabama Building Human Capital Strategy Plan. Next slide. So the results of our pilot was that there were, you can see 6 different areas that we were able to find credit for students. So students that come in with any of these training or certification programs, the gray side on the left side, Alabama Real Estate License, the SHRM certificate, Alabama Insurance License, some Lean Six Sigma, the white, yellow, or green belts, OSHA 10 or OSHA 30, they now will be able to get credit for that through the college courses and numbering. So at Athens, Finance 356, you can get 3 credits for that if you have completed and have a current license in real estate from Alabama. For the SHRM, there are actually 3 courses, so 9 credits. So if anybody has a SHRM certification out there, they're already guaranteed 9 credits coming in the door for Athens. You can read through the list. The Lean Six Sigma was another big one, and nine credits for that. OSHA 10, which usually a lot of your manufacturing folks need to come, or OSHA 30. There's, again, 3 credits that you can get from Athens for that. These were all done in April, and they are live and ready to go. Next slide. So there's lots of opportunities, what we found from just doing the pilot. The support partnership between the industries and the workforce organizations and employees to develop more crosswalks, it's there. The industry is looking for this. The colleges are somewhat looking for this. They just don't know how to put it together. Alabama does a lot of great work with our military credits, with some of our national exam credits. But when it comes to workforce crosswalks, there's not a whole lot out there from the Alabama system. This is why I think one of our opportunities for Alabama is to develop a statewide CPL and crosswalk process, where you're looking at not only your eligible training providers, but you're also looking at other certifications and other work training programs out there, apprenticeships and non-credit, that can align to college level courses across the system, across the state. So this would be in your 2-year colleges, in your tech colleges. It could be for some of your 4 years that are going into their transfer articulation agreements. So lots of opportunities there. Another opportunity is there's a lot of common courses across the colleges and universities that align with specific crosswalks. A lot of your tech community and tech colleges have OSHA training on there, have intro to manufacturing, have intro to networking. They have a lot of common courses across the whole system. This means that we can do one crosswalk for one of the colleges in the industry and spread it out across all of the different colleges that have that course. So that's one of the opportunities that Alabama has that would greatly increase the ability for students to get credit for the work that they have already done. And also a statewide pathway allows students to easily transition between student worker and worker student. And this goes back to kind of something that Wilson has said about, the pay for a full credit load. As a worker student, you now have an opportunity to gain credit for the work you're currently doing, as well as use that work skills for advancing into your additional career opportunities. So it really is a win-win for both colleges and workforce to be able to be part of crosswalk training. Next slide. Wilson, I'll lead it back to you, but thank you for the time and work. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice, and thank you all. Of course, if you have any questions, happy to answer those, but always happy to share about this great work that we've recently been able to do and the opportunity to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Finch and Dr. Annison, and this has been incredible work, and appreciate your partnership and continued partnership in the future. Now I would like to turn to Mr. Brent Skipper with Jabio to take us through a demonstration of his platform. Mr. Skipper, if you can hear me, the floor is yours.
Nick, while we wait on Mr. Skipper to get back, can I ask you a couple of questions?
If you are talking to me, I am happy to.
I was actually going to ask Nick a couple of questions about the governor put out a press release last week about Success Plus. Were you going to talk about that later in the webinar, or are you comfortable enough discussing that now about what's happened in the past 2 years? You're muted.
All the foibles of webinars coming back at once there. So
Yep.
No, I appreciate the question, and I think it's a good one. So y'all know that Governor Ivey set a post-secondary attainment goal for Alabama back in 2018. In fact, it was April 30th of 2018 when she set the Success Plus post-secondary education attainment goal of adding 500,000 credentialed Alabamians to the potential workforce. And it was last week where she reported that since the goal has been set, we have had almost 215,000 people, so 214,922 first-time credentials earned in Alabama. And we also were able to break that number down by the number that were earned from basically 18 to 24, because we wanted to get a better look at youth, and then 25 to 64. And we broke that down by region as well. And then later on in the summer, or in the fall, really, we're going to provide a report on how many people in each of the special populations that the governor listed in the combined WIOA plan, how many of each of those populations have earned a first-time credential. So a lot of good work going on there, but if the regions were interested. So Region 1 earned 44,469. Region 2 added 12,045 credentials. Region 3 had 24,956. Region 4 had 38,441. Region 5 had 33,155. Region 6 had 17,791. And Region 7 had 44,065. So Region 1 had the largest number, and then followed closely by Region 7. So really proud of that progress. That results about 43% of the overall attainment goal, and a lot of the things that we're doing in regard to competency-based education, skills-based hiring, we hope will accelerate progress towards the goal even further in the coming years.
And I think that just from my standpoint, I think it's pretty amazing that, I think you said 47% away from attainment or from that goal that Governor Ivey had set. But we've gone through a lot of things in the past 2.5 years that affected some of that, but we still have really, really good numbers. So this looks like it is actually a plan that will benefit everybody and that will be able to make it. The pandemic put a lot of things on hold and changed that landscape for a while. But it seems like I think that 145,000 first-time degrees over the last 3 years, that's a pretty amazing number there.
Yes, sir. And I think part of it lays in the fact that some of the things that Governor Ivey was working on before the pandemic, like looking at how to create stackable pathways of credentials, about how to connect short-term workforce training with longer-term degrees. All of that is now having an impact because some of those initiatives are maturing. I think the Success Plus initiative and the work that the governor's done around credential quality and transparency has really motivated and excited a lot of partners. And we see a lot of state agencies, community-based organizations creating initiatives that are aligned to this effort. And it's also based on helping people overcome barriers to entering education in the workforce. And that's going to be a big part of increasing the state's labor force participation rate. So we've got good economic growth, we've got low unemployment, and now we're working at tackling that labor force participation rate so we can make sure that there's more and more people that are on a path to self-sufficiency. But these initiatives, I think, were well timed before the pandemic began, so that way we could have a really strong recovery strategy. And I think a lot of the, some of the maybe stumbling blocks to some of this work that existed before the pandemic have abated quite a bit since the pandemic and during the recovery, because people see that competency-based education, skills-based hiring is not only what is good for the economy, but it's also what people are demanding in the labor market and the education sector.
And one last thing, not to go beyond too much, but there are several new things that your office and other departments throughout the state have services that are going to come online here soon that are going to help employers and employees with that skills-based training. That we have those things to look forward to in the very near future.
And you're right, and it's taken about 3 years to get a full-scale talent marketplace developed, but Alabama is in the process of launching the nation's first full-scale talent marketplace that uses competencies and skills as the basic unit of transaction between education and training providers, students and job seekers, and employers. And it connects our education and the economy by allowing talent and opportunity to be matched up based on skills, and not just the proxies of learning like time and credits, And it's not to say that this system is mutually exclusive from that. It's just allowing us to translate very much like what our friends at Kale were describing today about being able to crosswalk things into the skills architecture. So the 3 solutions we're launching, and as people that are tuned into these conversations regularly have heard about the credential registry, but that's important for us to be able to record all of the thousands of credentials that are available today in the state. And then that's connected to a skills-based job description generator that allows employers to take a competency model for an in-demand job and turn that into a job description that's based on skills. And then the third solution allows all learning to count and for individuals to populate their individual digital resume with all of the skills that they've earned throughout their life and formal learning experiences, on the job learning experiences, and for them to own that learning throughout transition points. And so there's a lot of, many different software programs and websites where people can make resumes and things like that. But what we're hoping to do here is to make sure that this is something that somebody would carry with them for as long as they would like to throughout transitions from different periods in their life. And this will all be connected through a single sign-on system. So that way the user experience is slightly different and tailored to whether you're a job seeker, an employer, or a training provider. And EBSCO, which is an Alabama-based company a lot of people here may be familiar with, is powering the job description generator and the learning and employment record. Our partners at Credential Engine are providing the support for the credential registry.
Fantastic. There's a lot of things that that are about to happen and that are happening behind the scenes, and it's going to be a really spectacular system once it's up and running, and it's going to help everybody get through this. If you watch these webinars, if you're interested in this, I just want to remind everybody that past episodes of the webinar are available at AlabamaWorks.org. AlabamaWorks.com. You can see the rest of these webinars. Plus, if you're an employer, job seeker, or a student, there are resources there for you for education, for training, to get information on Success Plus and other things there as well. Mr. Skipper, are you available?
Yes, I am. Just had to
Okay.
take the mute off.
All right, you can take it away, sir. Thank you.
Great. Well, I appreciate the time here, and I enjoy what's been said so far, and I think there's a lot of complementary services and value that we can work with each other and help with job seekers and things like that. So I do want to jump right into it because this is kind of different. So everybody, I look forward to fielding any questions that you might have about what we're offering, what we've developed down here in Dothan. I am sharing my screen here. And this is a tool that all of your departments and any partners, employment partners that you might have, any of them would hopefully find very useful. In this day and age, job search, I don't have to tell anybody on this call how painful it can be, but that pain resides on both sides of the table, both for employers and job seekers. And so we have created a virtual job board. It's a video job board for virtual recruiting. The pain, like we just have talked about, there's more jobs than seekers. I mean, the data is pretty convincing that managers tell us all the time that even if they do get a lot of applicants, then they have a hard time matching up quality applicants. They get a lot of unqualified applicants. And the fact of the matter is, the managers that we've talked to over the last couple of years tell us that a significant amount of their applicants They can tell didn't even apply for the job themselves. Their boyfriend or their girlfriend or spouse or somebody else did. And then another third of them just don't even respond when they reach out. So it makes them wonder what their motivation was in the first place. Costs are high, turnover is too high. People are taking jobs, getting their first paycheck, and then quitting after a couple weeks. Wages, inflation, that's obviously a factor. And then the last thing that I've put in here, employer branding, that's getting more and more popular and with regards to HR trends. And our platform helps support that employer branding. Because candidates are consumers. They want to know, they want to be familiar with your brand. They want to trust your brand. And like consumers, job seekers want transparency in the first step. They want it to be genuine. They don't want a technical job description. I know we've talked about job descriptions here, and boy, job descriptions are pretty terrible these days. I just have to tell you the feedback and the data that we get. The data overwhelmingly says that people don't read usually past the first bold heading. And if they get past the bold heading, they maybe read one or two sentences. They want something genuine and non-technical, and they want it to be personalized, humanize the experience. Communication in job search is critical. They want it to be fast. They want to know exactly what the steps are. And an auto reply is better than nothing. And speed, again, like we talked about, speed is probably the number one reason that employers miss the best candidates, because employers are so busy organizing, people in their applicant tracking systems that the best ones don't last long, and employers don't really have time to cycle through all of the applicants and then start over the process of weeding out. If you find a good applicant, you got to move quickly, because they won't be there after the first round is finished. Job search problems. I'm going to get right to what our product is and show you about it. But I think we all agree there's just a lack of transparency. Job seekers don't read or trust job descriptions. Employers don't read or trust resumes and applications. The quicker we can get to the individual, to the real people, the better. So Jobio has created a video job board. It's a virtual hiring app, or what we just say, it's a virtual job fair. It's on demand, available 24/7. Nobody has to travel to meet each other. Nobody has to go back and forth with a ton of emails and phone calls and texts. There are no booths to man, no booths to reserve or anything like that. You don't have to take off a shift to go and visit the job fair. It's all done virtually, and it's all done through an app on a website, Android and iOS. People get to meet the manager virtually, and employers get to meet the applicant virtually. In their own words, there's no paper involved. Okay. So again, meeting the manager before you apply. All of the critical elements of job search are incorporated into Jobio. Jobio is jobs on video. That's how we got the name. And you can see here, it's very friendly. It's searchable. You get to, meet the manager. You get to learn more about the company. And again, going back to the human experience, the manager is the most critical person in this role, not someone from the HR or the recruiting team. The data is compelling and conclusive that the quicker you get the recruiter out of the loop, the better experience it is for the job seeker. They want to know who they're going to be working for and what the environment's going to be. Is it a cubicle? What does the truck look like? Does it have air conditioning? Do the windows roll up? Is this a work from home experience? All of those kind of questions can be answered so much more efficiently through video. And now we have the technology to get that information to the other side of the table quicker and more efficiently. This is what the job seeker or what the employer would see. You get video applications for everybody, video resumes, if you will. Obviously, they can still attach their traditional resume, but Jobio gives people the opportunity to, like here on the right, you look at Ashley Joyner. She can put her Twitter, her Instagram, her Facebook, or even her TikTok and attach her traditional resume. So you get a full 360-degree view of the individual, just like they got a 360-degree view of the employer and the hiring manager in the very first step. So no applications, no formal applications are requested or submitted until we get to meet each other. And that is going to cut down, our data is showing that we're reducing the cost per hire by 80%. And I know everybody on this call knows how expensive it is to hire when you factor in all of the eyeballs and the hands that are involved. You're talking about several thousand, if not tens of thousands of dollars per hire. So this is an opportunity for employers to make dramatic cost saving steps in their recruiting process that will impact the bottom line in a measurable way, as opposed to something that has to be measured through months or years of integration. And what we do and what Jobio hopes is that here in the state of Alabama, we can work with chambers of commerce, Southeast Alabama Works, all the different entities. We want to be a part of every job fair in Alabama, whether it's hosted by a college or university or a employment group, workforce group. We simply want to be a supplement. There's no cost to the chambers or any of those people. We only make money from employers. And we never make money off of job seekers. But as a bonus, every employer gets one free job listing. It's the first job is always free. So if an employer wants to just test the water and see how it works out, they can do it with no charge, no credit cards or anything. But we think this is a great experience for job seekers and employers to really get to meet each other in this virtual world that we're now experiencing. People don't want to spend gas money driving to job fairs. And like I mentioned, the inconvenience of the job fairs for both sides of the table is pretty dramatic. And this is a great way to integrate virtual technology. I'm happy to take any questions. Y'all can contact me here. This is my email, and the app is available for download as well.
Well, thank you so much, Brent. And that was a very exciting presentation. And thank you for joining us to demo it. And anybody that's interested in speaking more with him about the solution can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to put you in contact. So that will wrap up our program for today. So I want to thank the team at Kale and Jobio for joining us today. And we look forward to having you join us again in September. And of course, it'll always be, excuse me. I'm ahead of myself. August 15th, not September. We're happy to have you in September too, but before then, August 15th at 9 a.m. So we will look forward to seeing you then. And thanks so much to Chris Rockmore for serving as our facilitator today.